Today on Your Morning.
But here's a story that our parents couldn't believe that's ever happened, because my parents were married 50 years. Yours is going on 50 plus. We talk about happily ever after. Really isn't the case for most marriages. A study by the U.S. Census Bureau finds that more than half of American marriages consummated in the late 1970s failed to survive 25 years. That's daunting news, of course, if you're headed down the aisle. Well, here to examine the legalities of divorce and why marriages just don't seem to be lasting are Judy Charny, family attorney from Charny Karpousis, and Ruthie Kaiser, marriage family therapist from the Council for Relationships. Good morning.
Good morning, Greg.
This is interesting. When couples come to see you, when they're talking about heading down to getting a divorce, what are the reasons that they give? It's surprising. Because, like I said, I'm a product of a 50-year marriage, so I'm wondering why in the world are people getting divorced? What's the reasons they give you?
Well, they give me a lot of reasons that I probably can't really discuss, but I would say...
The top bracket, so you can discuss that in generalities.
In generalities, people are looking for the quick fix. They're bombarded with media that talks about wonderful marriages and perfect happy endings, and they're looking for that. And unfortunately, that's not the reality. And when they're in a marriage, they realize that it is a lot of work. It's not just all happy all the time.
It's not panacea.
Exactly.
Marriage is work, as many couples who are happily married have told me. And are they doing the things in their marriage that maybe they forgot to do? Are they forgetting to do the things in the marriages that they did when they were dating? Have they forgotten the love?
I think that I agree a lot with what Judy says. They show up to us in different stages, but I think people in the beginning don't take the time to get to know themselves or their partner. So whether it's an internal pressure to get married or a societal pressure to get married, they don't take the time to really know what they're doing. And then in terms of the expectations, I think everyone could benefit from some kind of education as to what are more realistic expectations. Typically the first 6 months to 2 years are wonderful, like the endorphins. There's a high, people are excited and in love and everything's wonderful. And then life sets in and they become scared, they become angry, they become disappointed, and then they put up these walls and they don't know how to address what comes up.
How to climb over these walls.
Exactly.
The study examined marriages in the 70s. What are the differences when couples are coming to you that you find the differences between marriages today and maybe marriages of our parents?
Well, there are a lot of differences. It's much more acceptable. Divorce is much more acceptable now. It doesn't have the stigma that it had in our parents' time. When we were growing up, it was very unusual to have any of our peers' parents be divorced or our parents be divorced. Now it's very commonplace. So society is more accepting, religion is more accepting. Even the law, every state has no-fault divorce, which makes it a lot easier to get a divorce. So those are some major differences between the time in the 70s and now.
All right, and there's a lot of people who say that maybe that has led to either the fracture of society. Many people argue that has allowed couples to live separate lives and now be happy instead of staying in a marriage that they didn't like. Let's talk, give our viewers some advice now. If they're in a marriage and they want to make it work, and maybe they're finding that they're reaching that 7-year itch, maybe a barren years, what would you recommend them?
Sure, there actually are lots of things to do. I think the first thing is to schedule like a date night.
Really?
Schedule time for fun, and partly because it's fun to have fun, hula hooping or whatever people may do for fun. But the other reason is it's like putting money in the bank. If you build up a reservoir of goodwill and safety and trust and everything that goes along with that, then when you need to make a withdrawal, when there's a conflict, there's some reservoir. The other thing to schedule separately from date night is sort of a meeting time, a time to discuss whatever your schedules are, what your calendars are, what's going on, review the progress you've made as a couple, as a family, to discuss it, but definitely do not bring that into date night. Probably the most important thing is the assumption of goodwill, often referred to as, let's say, creating a culture of gratitude or appreciation.
Sure.
In parenting, you talk about catching the kids doing something good.
Right.
So if your partner, if you can, again, cultivate that attitude, again, it goes a long way.
And of course, communication
is the most important thing. And as I said earlier, if you can bring a mindfulness into communication where you're paying attention, where you take a moment to calm down and quiet and really get a sense of what your own patterns are.
You might be able to get over the bridge. Ladies, we want to thank you for joining us and imparting some, giving us some good advice, sharing with us that. Judy Charny is with Charny Karpousis, and Ruthie Kaiser is a marriage family therapist from the Council for Relationships. I want to thank you both for joining us. Over to Connie.